Professor Vicky spent days, weeks coming to my house, sorting out all my books. So sometimes when you come to my house, they see in fact, I've told her now, she's owing me another visit. Because maybe the last 10 years, they have not visited my library. I've acquired many more library. And she was one who told me, no. How you have this kind of subject? You can't. No, if I want to look for a book, I'll just be looking like this. And we look. And she blessed my life. And when she was going to South Africa for a PhD, I said, just go and come back. Because this arranging book is not the ultimate. And came back 3 years later, she was asked to be a lecturer, and today she's a professor. And she's doing very well. But whatever she has become, that relationship has not died. I can say the same thing with the accountant, the auditor. I was leading an organization from this one before, and we needed somebody that can give a clear cut. You see, when you open yourself to be audited, you are both endangering yourself and also enabling yourself. And he's so dispassionate with his work. Sometimes I'm stuck. I don't have right staff. She will be a staff, the auditor, the accountant, at his level. He will come down and just assist us until we survive. So that when the time comes for us to tell the world, this is our story financially, we are not lying. And this one can call this one late in the night. The computer that we bought before he died, the only time we made stupid mistake, we didn't involve him. We paid for one brand new computer advertisement. Special giveaway. They gave us away. They collected our money. Even a keyboard they don't send to us. And I can tell you that that's what I say, I've been blessed by these lives. I'm not joking. Each of them has stories to tell. I'm glad they are not exposing me, because there are moments also when they say to me, what you are trying to do, I don't think this is right now. I say, okay, no wala. However, this moment, my goal is to share with you my understanding of how professionals can become kingdom extenders. Professionals, how they can become kingdom extender, or what we call the kingdom workforce. Heavenly Father, we ask you to reach out to us, speak to us, grant us grace to recognize and fulfill your purpose. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I will read it to you from the Bible, a story in Exodus chapter 35. Exodus chapter 35. I will use that as a discussion starter. Exodus chapter 35. In Exodus chapter 35, we come across a very simple storyline of how God, we turn to verse 30 with me, how God put some people in places and how God recognized the place of their chosen. Exodus 35 verse 30 says, and Moses said to the children of Israel, see, the Lord has called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Or, of the tribe of Judah, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, in understanding, in knowledge, and all manners of workmanship, to design artistic work, to work in gold and silver and bronze, and in cutting jewels, for setting, in carving wood, and to work in all manners of artistic workmanship. And he has put in his heart the ability to teach in him, and Aholiab, the son of Ahishamash, of the tribe of Dan. He has filled them with the skill to do all manners of work of the engraver and designer and tapestry in blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine linen and of weaver. Those who do every work and those who design artistic work. The word of the Lord. Now, years ago, I met a young banker. I strayed to one bank. I was trying to, I had a policy when my children were growing up. So as they returned to primary one, I tried to open accounts for them. They didn't know how to sign. They did jagala sign. And there was this young, brilliant, dazzling young girl that was prospecting for customer. So I made her my family banker. She's here today. All my children went through her to open the accounts and to help them to create a discipline. Kobe, I'm glad you're here. I wanted that to be part of the panel today, but don't believe that time. So you can imagine, those children are in their late 30s now. they are now raising children. So you can imagine how long she has been in my life. I usually will tell people that if I see professionals that have possibilities in the kingdom and don't let go of them, the engineer that gifted us the design of the hall, I met him 30 years ago. He didn't have the big job that time, but now he's getting job from Central Bank, designing Central Bank, doing all those things, designing here, aviation college, doing all those kind of things. But that time, he was just a tiny little engineer, and I said, there's a future here. And that's why I tell young people now, I'm not interested in you now. I'm thinking 10 years from now, 20 years from now, would I be able to look at you and say, this is not a wasted investment? The house I live today, we were prospecting for property for my organization there. And when Mr. Mecca was in the car, we drove past a place. He said, that boy coming on the bike. Nobody said no. So he said, let's greet him whether he has the land. That's how we greeted the person. And I said, he's coming from a farm. He says, my uncle is Abuja, this and that. I was driving away. He said to me, he said, sir, let me give you my card. You know, that time he was talking about carrying card around. He was really. And that's how he gave the card. And long story short, 48 hours later, a member of House of Rep drove to Abuja to come and offer me a land. If you align with the purpose of God, you will influence the kingdom beyond your own record. So we read the story of this man. Who are these people? Why is this story important to us? I will give you 3 categories of people, and I want to take note of them because you might be one of them. The first categories are people who, by calling and by choice, deploy their trade and their profession directly inside the kingdom day-to-day activities. So we call them full-time. They are directly engaged. They wake up every morning, their profession is in their hand. They go to mission station, go to mission office to go use that profession for something that nobody else will do. They are like the Bezaliel. They are men who are already gifted, skilled, trained, equipped, licensed if you like. But God in His sovereignty staged a circumstance around them that made them to either say yes voluntarily, they give their calling, or involuntarily they are called by God. Like basically the Bible says, God called him by name. Unfortunately, there are people who are called by name and they are dodging God the rest of their lives. So these people, they are not leaders per se, but they influence the production and the possibilities in the lives of leaders. The resilience of our time are people will say they are wasting away. A young boy studied economics, 2-1, University of Ibadan, came to just wasting, loitering around. I brought him in. I say, I will change. You have gift of designing, be designing. And I told him about 2 weeks ago, I said, And when I write my biography eventually, I'm going to paste some of your earliest work. So people will see where I pick you and where you have been. Today, he is a leading designer for a global organization that serves. I sneaked into his online meeting the other day. They were people from Australia, from New Zealand, from India, from Pakistan, from Canada, from Lagos. In that meeting, I was also a guest. He introduced me. But 14 years ago, it didn't seem as he has a future like that. We quarrel, we fought. People told him, "What are you doing, Uncle Tim? Hey. I said, your gift, for it to be gathered, you must submit yourself to discipline and forfeit everything else you have done." There are people like that. God will bring them to a place of stand or sit down and see the salvation of God. Like they said here, he has a gift, he has a calling, but God needed to appropriate it for a function that must be done at that moment. They are called into kingdom service. These people are equipped with the needed skills. They are also inspired by the Holy Spirit for expertise, excellence in their performance with exceptional capacity. They are placed in the kingdom like no one else. Unfortunately, like our sisters Vicky said, the Gen Z, the millennial, they are too conscious of what they have become. They are not thinking of what they can become. So what you are going to become may not necessarily be obvious now, but what you are becoming is what will be a record of your life. They made intergenerational impact. Because Bezalel didn't end his story in Exodus. So when you read in, the Bible says he's the son of all, the son of the tribe of Judah. He made all that the Lord commanded Moses. So he didn't even receive direct command. And that's why when you are Bezalel, you are not necessarily going to be the final receiver of the insight. You might just be residual receiver of instruction, but then you process it based on your skill. In Bezalel, there are people who, by the grace of God, like the Bible says, a book of remembrance could be opened on their behalf. These people, they will include in our present generation doctors who risk their lives during epidemic to go to the jungle to salvage people. They will include pilots who fly missionaries to the jungles to deliver medical supplies. They will include graphic designers who could make money on the city of Jos or the Ministry of Lagos, who could make a name for themselves, but they sell that name into the kingdom. There could be people who are gifted writers, skillful writers, ability to design intricate knowledge of how to play with words, but they are writing children books to advance the kingdom of God. There's a group in this Jos called Sunday School Project. For many years, they go around churches, helping churches to develop quality material. The people who are there, all the people who are full-time were expatriates. Nigerians were not ready to volunteer. They would rather be vice principal somewhere. But that was how some denominations were able to have a foothold in the young generation. They become their pastor today. I saw a young boy who was in Sunday school that time, in the 90s, who is now a senior pastor. Those who volunteer, who gave their writing skills, their capacity to develop materials, we hail them. But that time they didn't look like they're making sense. That time, Reverend Adiboye invited me to lead a workshop for them on writing skills for church members. We went to Miango. We had about 24 people. We struggled how to define, how to write as Africans, how to communicate effectively. We finished. 3 of them left the church, so they went away, as it were, with the scale. But the sin was not lost. One of them died, a very brilliant young nurse died of an infection in the hospital. We lost one. But may I say to you, 22 years later, that team is still writing the Sunday school for the entire denomination. That team. But why did I get into doing that, even for that denomination that time? Because I was blessed with a young man who read history, who kept telling me, "Sir, make this into a full-fledged ministry. Develop it." So I developed a writing material, or a writing workshop material that we've put in place for years and years. So Bezalel may not necessarily be the commander or the director, but they bring their giftedness to influence how the leaders become multi-generational in their input. There was no way Moses could have carved those images. But something really taught me as I was reading the scripture, and I read later on that when Solomon was dedicating the temple, the Bible didn't say he dedicated the temple with a bronze basin. The Bible said he brought the bronze basin, designed and crafted by Bezalel. How many years later? How many decades later? How many generations later? I want young people, professionals, to think if God is inviting you to a full-time job, don't shy away. It's not a waste. Your generation may say you're a waste. Your friend may call you names, but it does not mean you are a waste. You are only laying a foundation for the future. These men made intergeneration impact. Think about it. This group of people are kingdom extender by life, by serving. They don't roll up their sleeves and get it done. In fact, the Bible says concerning them, they are the people who turn the world upside down. Because by the time they show up, people don't imagine that people of that level, of that caliber, will be doing this kind of job. Some of them, they bring their profession into the job, they serve according to their profession. Recently, I was talking with an organization, and they just developed a medical outreach, strategic medical. It's not the regular hospital. And how did they do it? Because they are professionals who join their team full time, who they invested in, and they become the change agent to bring that organization to a level of relevance they never thought they could be. That is the first group. Whatever we say about the kingdom, we must honor them. You must celebrate them. You must value them. Because every blessed day, somebody is looking at them with corner eye and he's saying, well, what will it amount to? The second group are those who walk away from their professional trade. They are learning and they devote their lives to the service of God so that the purpose of God will be established. They do so by choice, sometimes by compelling call of God. Their word also derives them. They are people who are professional business people by trade, by training, but they bring that profession and business to bear upon the kingdom. Sometimes they are required to juggle between professional life and the kingdom life. I think Olonade will talk about the dichotomy doesn't exist. And then a brother, if they talk about they don't see their work as either this or that. These people, when you see them, you think they are full-time, but they are not. They are just actively engaged in advancing the kingdom beyond what their contemporaries in the same profession could do. Two examples comes to my mind. First was Paul. Paul wrote more books of the New Testament than anybody else. Next to Jesus, there was nobody in the New Testament story that was dragged, flogged, and publicly humiliated like Paul. But Paul was a lawyer. You can call him a barrister at law. I don't know whether it would be an SAN at this stage. But Paul was a lawyer who turned into a itinerant evangelist. He used his legal mind to project the gospel. God is looking for those professionals now who, by the training they have, wherever they show up, something at their profession is staging a comeback for the gospel, an advancement for the kingdom. For instance, in Acts chapter 26, in verse 2 to 6, Paul stood to defend himself as an attorney. He made his case before King Agrippa. It looks like he was in a court of law. He said, now, okay, I would like to. And by the time he finished that presentation, both the king and the subjects were rattled. Why? There was no way Peter could do that. There was no way Philip could do that. There was no way somebody, Appius, could do that. In fact, Peter would say, let's go fishing. But you need a critical mind of a legal luminary who enter into the space of mission to bring a different level of grace to the work. These days, the kingdom needs those men more than ever before. For example, in Acts chapter 23, in verse 6, Paul did something that you will say, Ojoro. He used the presence of the Sadducees and the Pharisees who were together in the hall. He used their head to collide themselves. He invoked his Pharisaical background. I'm a Pharisees. It's because of this, you're trying to mess me up. Confusion. Sometimes, all this Muslim is because even some of our lawyers, they have not seen themselves as a voice for the kingdom. When they were trying to introduce Islamic banking, a lawyer and a banker, two of them met me. So I called the leadership of the church. I called the primate of Nigerian church. I called the CAN president. I called my friend William Okoye, Dr. Okoye in Abuja. I called Bishop Kwashi was there. We had a meeting of 7 leaders. I said, what is the church position? What's the church going forward? I know it might be painted nicely. It's interest-free. This and that. I said, but what is the ultimate? Is it not to fund their system, to fund their own desire? It looks very strange. But I wish we are lawyers and serious bankers in that meeting who can project the future, give analysis of where we should be going. Paul advanced the gospel, not necessarily because he could preach very well, but because he could educate and advocate the cause of the kingdom. In fact, in Acts 22, you know what he said? He said, I am educated at the feet of Gamaliel, according to the strict manner of the law. Don't mess with me. I trained as a Pharisee, an expert in Jewish law. I'm Hebrew of Hebrew. As for the law, a Pharisee, nobody in this room can change my point. Let's talk. Where are those people? What we are hearing today is that people are talking more about how the gospel can benefit us, how the gospel can benefit them, how we can make it in God, God has become utility item. We are looking for professionals. Whatever be that profession, when the kingdom matter shows up, you fall first stand based on your professional background, you declare the purpose of God. But Paul is not my favorite in this group. My favorite in this group is Dr. Luke. Dr. Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts. He wrote the story of Jesus Christ and the birth of the church. A trained physician is writing carrying the compassion and the warmth of a family man or a family doctor. If you read the book of Luke and the book of Acts at the introduction level, you will notice how he kind of raised the possibility for all of us to know that he has carefully, like the kind of doctor, when they do ask to do like this, doctor, they are looking for what was your color of your stool. I say, what are the guy going to do with them? When you pick, what's the color? You're supposed to have color. Why? They go to the extent of gathering all the information they could in order to make decision. Luke wrote these books through detailed references and analytical mind. When Luke was telling the story of Jesus, the ancestry of Jesus, his birth, his added life, and it was so chronological. And when the doctors are recommending 3 tests for you, they don't just say you are going to do 3 tests. They say we're going to explore this further. Am I right? This thing you say we're going to explore this further. No matter, even if you are the richest man, when you meet a doctor, he is subjecting you to all kinds of detailed questions. So when you read Acts chapter 1, when Luke said, Theophilus, I'm following up on my former conversation. I'm writing again to add to the fact I've given you. What does that say? It means that when we have professionals in place, they are not lopsided in their commitment to the kingdom. Actually, the reason why Luke holds my heart is because Luke never flaunted his pedigree. And throughout the book of Luke, throughout the book of Acts, Luke never mentioned he was a doctor. He didn't say, well, as a medical doctor. Let me give you 3 examples of where he could do that and didn't. He missed them. Do you think these days of incontent and training, they would have said, I've lost a great chance. The first place was when he started the book of Luke, book of Acts. He could have just said, finally, Theophilus, here's Dr. Luke's examination of the whole matter. And he will be right. He will not be over-assuming. He didn't do that. Then in Acts chapter 16, if you read Acts chapter 1 to chapter 16, verse 10, he was writing the story of Paul and the church. And they did this, and they did that, and then they left, and then they traveled, when they got this place, and then they discovered, and then they did this, and they did that. So when you go to chapter 16, after another dramatic event, and you are released now to go, when Timothy has joined the team, for the first time, in Acts 16:10, he used the word, and we say. For the first time, he showed himself in that group. See, now after he had seen the vision, immediately we sought to go to Macedonia so that the Lord has called us for the first time. Since the beginning of that book. So this is an opportunity for him to say, I've written all about Paul. But now as Dr. Luke, I'm joining the group. But from that day till the end of that book, you know that Luke again didn't flaunt his pedigree. In fact, the third place he had a chance to do it was in Act 28. Do you remember what happened in Act 28? When Snake beat Paul. In Act chapter 28, verse 3. Act 28, 3, he says, but when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fasting on his hand. Well, let's of their job. They also make contribution to the kingdom effort. But let me give you examples so that all of us who are in this room can fit into one or two. Number one, let me think of Lydia, the textile guru, the textile CEO. Today would be fashion designer. I met a lady at the airport the other day. We flew together. We were waiting for our luggage and we were just talking. I said, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "I make unique cake." Who does that? I said, "What do you mean by unique cake?" He said, "I make a cake that's not made twice. So if I'm going to make a cake for you for your 50th birthday, you'll be the only one in the world that will have it. If I'm going to make a cake for your 21st birthday, and you know this Gen Z and the millionaire, they love her because they're going to get their boyfriend to give 800,000 naira for one piece of cake. And they will do it. He explained to me how the cake is designed. So he reminded me a few weeks later, say, "When am I making one for you?" I said, "Send me sample." When they sent me sample, one day 1.6 million. One cake. One cake. I said, "How many? How many?" I will let you trailer to bring it. So today, Lydia will not be your class of local traders. Because why do I say that? The Bible talk about he has luxury goods. So she is a choice businesswoman. She is at that level of high margin of international trade. How do I know that? He has influence to open her home in Philippi as the first house church ever in the history of the church. She's a businesswoman that started the first church, not a pastor. It's a businesswoman that housed the first church, not estate value. It's a businesswoman that started the first house church, not an accountant. All these men are following a woman who opened a house because of her wealth, that people could begin to worship God in her house. Not only did he open her house, this lady bankrolled Paul's Macedonian mission. Have you heard the story? Come over to Macedonia to help us. That mission was sponsored by Lydia. That mission, just read Acts chapter 16, 15, and 14. That mission was sponsored by Lydia. Lydia was a business person whose household could be a stopping point or residential environment for traveling evangelists. So those of you who are professionals, businessmen, don't just give money to mission. Create an atmosphere around your home. When I was much younger in the ministry, when I traveled from Kaduna to Ilorin, there's a young man in Ilorin then, he's a retired professor now, Dr. Debomi. No matter how late in the night I reach Ilorin, his wife will put on fire, water for fire to make amala or to do garri. No matter what. And those crazy days when I was much younger, I could leave Kaduna at 5:30 p.m. to drive to Ilorin. Not just, there was a day, Augusta, Titi, Baker, three of them were in the car with me. I said, "We are traveling late." I said, "Don't worry, we know where we're going to rest for the night." And we got there. Next day, we had hot tea in the morning. There was a day I won't mention it because I want to say something or not to you. We went to one man, to another family in Lagos, Bayo. His name is Bayo Rewole. Now, Uncle Bayo now, we're not Uncle Bayo, Bayo Rewole. His wife he was working at National Printing and Mint. His wife was working at NYC. Whenever I arrive in Lagos, no matter what, I know there are homes I can stop. We stopped in this home. This brother who traveled with me used a whole tin of milk to drink one cup of tea. I was like this. And oh, God bless her soul. She's such a lovely lady. He said, "Nothing, forget. Emma will feel him. When last did you drink that kind of milk? Let her finish it." It's almost like they say, on us. That kind of on us. They are the kind of leader we're looking for now. Because these days now, if I'm traveling now, we have to think which hotel to stay. I'm sending a missionary on errand now to Lokoja, to Ibadan, or to, I'm thinking of which hotel to stay. Just say, our leaders don't think of hotel to stay. They say, who do you know in town? Who is part of the ministry that you can stay with? Sometimes, in case those children, they were raising 10 little children that time, they are all mothers and fathers now. Sometimes we pack everybody to sitting room. All of them will stay in sitting room. All sleep overnight. And no wonder those children, tiny primary school, secondary school boys and girls, they are still part of my life today. Some of them will still surprise me with money. Because they saw when we were growing up that we were not making this up for ourselves. Their parents showed them that these men are bearing the brunt of the gospel. But now, you see, somebody said something recently that shocked me. He said, you know that the more economically comfortable Nigerian Christians are now, the more we raise the wall of our house. The more we fend people off. Whereas in Muslims, the richer they are, the more they build a mosque in front of their house, the more they expand the percentage of people visiting them and coming to eat, the more they... He said, think about it. And I remember when I was growing up, my father's when we travel, but when we travel to the farm, in front of my father's house in the village, there are pots with water inside. And that pot has clay under it, water so that the water in the pot will remain cool. And people pass through because our house is close to the church, not next. I think the 7th house to the entrance of the village. You can drink water in my father's house. When this man was talking, he said, I don't remember that. This is the kind of people Lydia is telling us. Those of you who are growing in your business, in your grace, in your activities, remember you owe God a space in your life to make those who roam around as his life. Somebody who told was it Dr. Fakilede, is the professor retired now. Professor Fakilede just came back from Canada. Amazing, brilliant professor. Somebody told him, you allow all these roaming people, all these riffraffs to come to your house. They told him that we are riffraff until he told them that this one study accounting, this one study geology, this one study this and that. And you see, because they are serving mission, you call them riffraff. The person called out riffraff, then is nowhere to be found. We, the riffraff, we are still alive, passing strong for God. The second group person I want to talk in this group is a man called Joseph of Arimathea. He was a council member, which means a political office holder. And I remember I've had people like that in my life. There were two people in my life that I really enjoyed. One is Jerry Ghana, the other one is Emmanuel Ojoli. Emmanuel Ojoli was the founder of Green's Merchant Bank. It was now Merchant Bank, but empty at one time. And when I met him in Kaduna, I was in youth service. He said, what are you doing with your life? I said, I want to serve God full time. He said, have you sorted this out with your people at home? I said, they are not going to agree for now. Let me start first. He said, okay, but I have something for you to do. I said, what's it? He said, a friend of mine is starting a brand new company. And they need somebody who has background in accounting, finance, management, whatever, and they want him to edit. I said, well, let me go and talk to them. I got to the place, he gave me the newspaper advert. Got to the place, I thought it was an office, this for us is the house. And he said, okay, let's sit down, talk, we talk. I said, you can start to work on Monday. Monday was December 16th that year. I said, if I start on Monday, I will not be able to do this work. He said, why? I said, because by December 22, I will take permission full time from that work till the end of the year to go to LTG. Because I was my youth service, I was now the music worship team leader for Capcom. I said, so I need to be in that meeting. He said, is that more important than this work? I said, yes, sir. The man was shocked. Then the man asked me, when would you like to start? I said, January 6th next year. He said, why? I said, that's my birthday. I mean, we were raised to sacrifice whatever for the kingdom. So he said, okay. He looked at me, looked at himself. He said, okay. January 6th, you go. I got the job. The day I decided that job, because God told me, get this job, I want to train you on financial effectiveness. And that's the first time in my life I held $2.2 million physical cash in that business. Physical. That was a job that allowed me to have access to my boss personal account. And I walked away from that job after 2 years. God said, you've done what I want you to learn. Money will not intimidate you again. You will not be slave to any cash. Go and do what I want you to do. When I resigned that job, my boss called Uncle Imaucholi. He said, this young man had a pride. Do you know that in those 2 years, I built my own personal house from the company money, or for the company? They asked me, you want to be rent? I said, no, I want to build one to the company house. I built a story building. I think Gladys visited me in that house in Kaduna those days. I built my own house because I'm estate development. I built houses to rent. Somebody else that built in that early 80s, they are still standing today. So, the moment to Lagos, and I refused to go to Lagos because God was telling me this Lagos is a trap. We didn't plan it for a long time. I'm asking you to take this job for a test. So I tried. I was not in police. Alabama Police has the most private guest house you can have in Nigeria. It's owned by British Petroleum, the Asian British Petroleum. That's what I normally stay when I'm in Lagos. No ashawo, no human traffic. Everything is clean. Once you pass you get to the police, you are your haven. I was there one morning and they told me, say, when are we doing what we say we are doing? I say, yes, sir. The next morning I resigned my job, I gave my letter to the boss. He was angry. He called, where I'm telling this story, he called Uncle Maucholi. He said, this young man is throwing away the prime at the prime of development. He's throwing away everything. So, Uncle Ma said, what did he tell you? He said he told him that he had got another job. And that job he got before he got your job. So he was happy. So while you are working here, you are scouting. I said, no, sir, I wasn't scouting for another job. This was the job, original job I have. But I was in your own job to learn a principle. And you are giving me grace. How many boss will let their PA or their lieutenant have access to their personal account details? Be able to carry money around. The day I died, that day, some of you heard the story, when I was coming from Kano, I was holding about $16,000 US. And I had an accident and I died. And she carried me to the mortuary and police collected the money. Some of you know the story. If God has programmed you, be the Arimathea or be the Lydia, I want you to know that your prominence is only an instrument for the kingdom. Arimathea was a real estate man. He was a man in commerce. He had government contracts according to Matthew 27:57 and Mark 15:43. So we can read about them. But he used his social standing to make a bold request for Jesus' body. Do you know that if you don't have that level of influence, you can't make that decision that day? He walked to the power and he said, I need this body. Which means that when Jesus was alive, he had given his best to him. Now Jesus was dead, physically, he needed to donate to him. So he donated his own expensive newly cut tube, according to Matthew 27:59-60. He risked his reputation and political power and political capital in order to do the work of God. The third person is a man called Aquila and his wife Priscilla. They are tent makers. You know them very well. They are businessmen. They have leather work. They operate in Rome, in Corinth, in Ephesus, 3 cities. And yet, they hosted churches in their homes. They sponsor Christian evangelists. They use their business to disciple others. They took on Apollos and made him a gifted teacher. All of you are here, no matter what job you are doing, there is a place in your profession to advance the purpose of God. Let me wrap up with Barnabas, the one you know very well. The landowner, who is from Philippi, is a Philippian businessman. He was in Jerusalem. He sold his property and funded the first church council program. His influence and power was so real that when he brought the proceeds of his sale to the church, it influenced many other people. Unfortunately, it will influence other people who are very dubious, like our brother Meka was talking about today. Some of the people are looking for how to cut corner. It was this businessman that mentored Mark and Paul. So don't think that God has put in business just to make money. You might be using your well-settled, well-developed mindset in your business enterprise to look at somebody and say, you're in ministry, but I think we need to talk about. And of course, all these people, they are mentored me in one way or the other. This was not my initial plan for this building. In fact, getting this property, this whole environment was because we asked Mr. Becker to show how many places have we gone to pray, how many buildings we have seen to pray. And he will say, okay, let me pursue, let me follow up. Eventually, it won't work. But he never gave up on us. I think the word I told him at the beginning of my relationship with him, don't give up on me, has made him also never to give up on me. But finally, have you thought of Philemon? Philemon, the businessman who was a slave owner, a businessman who was from Colossae, a businessman who also hosted house church, using the business network to spread the gospel. He was so much involved in the gospel that if a slave is running away or a slave is to be freed, they consulted him. He was a financial partner with Paul the apostles. All of these people were kingdom extenders, people who championed the cause of the gospel freely and easily. And some of us who are here who are aligned with one or two of these people, I don't know who you are, but I want to leave you because there will be time for question and answer, and then I'll come back to pray with you.